Okay, so there we are in the summer of 2017. There's Duncan, Tony, myself and Simon. Having just called for Simon, heading off for Scotland. There's the nice red and white bike, all packed up, ready to go. Heading for the Yorkshire Dales. And what a lovely place it was. That's the Crown where we stayed. There's the oldest sweet shop in England. There we are, having a pint in the evening before we ignore the sat-nav and head off into the Yorkshire Dales for Scotland. Just making a quick call home. That's Glencoe, where they make the whisky, and this is one of the lochs that we visited. We were on Loch Goyle. 4 men and a dog in a bog, avoiding the rain. We didn't get much. That was the boat that they took us out on fishing. Duncan saying, "Why don't we buy a boat, Paul?" There's Tony with his brother and his sister, and there's some of the mackerel that we caught. Mostly mackerel in the lochs, all nice and fresh. Gutted and prepared by Duncan and myself. Made into some fillets and cooked in the oven. Someone mentioned that they preferred to get fish from here and eat it. We kept seeing this boat and we thought we should get a boat. Then the next day we went out on the kayaks and caught some fish from there. And then we saw the boat again and kept thinking about getting a boat of our own. And then one day we went to Glasgow to a museum, which was also a naval museum, and we even went onto an old ship and thought we really must get a boat of our own. And then we went home and saw boats, and everywhere we went there was boats. And that was about it really. Our holiday in Scotland really did inspire us to get another boat. So, having returned from our holiday in Scotland, I got talking to my son Mark, who had for some time suggested that we buy a boat. We started to look on some of these sites, couldn't really find much at all. And then one day, a man came into Halford where I work and said that he knew of a boat for sale in the Wakeling boatyard. So we went to see it. Unfortunately, water had gone quite a long way up into the engine, and the wheelhouse was quite rotten, and we didn't really think it was worth the £1,500 that he was asking. We saw this boat, which was an ex-Falklands boat with a big diesel, and there's Tony pointing at it. He must have been thinking, this is the one, this is the one. Turns out it wasn't for sale. And we also saw this, we believe a Cox, but it had to some degree gone back to nature. Someone had fitted the engine, and it was in a rather strange place, and it really did need quite some work. Then we saw this one and we thought, Now that doesn't need too much, just a bit of paint really. And I sat on the back and thought, yeah, I could actually imagine going fishing on this one day after it's all restored.
So this is the stern of Bethany Leigh, there's the auxiliary engine, there's the rudder down there, this is looking along the waterline. So this is the engine, this is the Yanmar diesel. It's got a C battery and a live running battery with a switch between the two. 20 horsepower diesel. We've got the cover off at the moment. This is the back of the boat from the stern. Great amount of area for fishing. Obviously not so much with the hatch up, but you can see how good it will be. So we walk into the wheelhouse. So you walk into the wheelhouse, go down the step, and to the left we have the galley. We'll be making tea and coffee, and then just forward of it we've got the control centre, got an old-fashioned helm. There is an American built Lowrance depth sounder. We've also got a gimbal compass, and I won't take the top off right now, but that's the Garmin navigation system. It's an early one but it works. Up there we have a VHF radio, which Tony and I will be going back to college for to get the licence. And down here we've got a sea toilet if everyone wants to use it, and up there's the hatch that leads out to the deck on the outside, and it comes complete with the anchor and everything. Turn around this way, sorry Tony?
100 in there.
Yeah, okay. That's looking back out. If I stand at the control centre now, we've got the berth down there. And then underneath these bunks there's a brand new life jacket, and there's also the screen for the radar system that's at the front of the boat. We're not sure if that works or not, but I've got a very clever bloke at the back there called Tony who no doubt will be able to get that working.
Yeah.
Maybe. And if I turn around here, the paint on the wheelhouse has peeled, as you can see. There's the radar system and the 2 metre aerials. Navigation lights.
Propeller turns easy.
And there's the, oh good,
Just turned it.
there's the side decks.
Nothing wrong with it.
And we've also got an auxiliary engine in case the diesel ever broke down. This is a Johnson, it's a twin cylinder, don't know how old it is or what size it is. I'm guessing about 6 or an 8 looking at it. Stern cleats at the back, you alright?
Yeah.
Both sides, and nice stainless steel rails down each side of the boat to put your rods up against. There is also some rod holders on here as well, and obviously there's this door here. This is a wheelhouse door, it goes like that and it all locks up and everything. So that's the back of the boat. Everything needs painting, and most of the job on this boat is painting, really, to be honest with you. Nice little place to sit on each side, just down here, look. So you can sit down with your rod over the side, just here. Got a deck light in there, and we've got interior lights up there.
Well, here you can see how badly the gunnels had rotted away, and this had to be replaced. So we used some nice new hardwood timber. This is one of the boxes that was situated on the cockpit to house things in, behind the wheelhouse door, and again saturated in water, completely rotten, leaving us with no alternative but to just remove it. There was one each side. We thought, well, we can put some seats there to sit on, or we could even make some new boxes. There's Duncan replacing one of the top sides of the gunnel in hardwood. The top of the wheelhouse roof was quite bad, and it was very hard to sand it down. It took many weekends. I used chemical metal to repair these water scuttles, along with some other areas on the roof. It worked very well. It's a good material. That's the first coat going down, and we used an exterior grade paint for the second coat, and finished it off, of course, in a marine paint. This was the side of the wheelhouse that Tony very kindly did for us. Originally made from 15mm, which we couldn't get, so we went to Leigh Timber and they ordered some in for us. It's not used apparently anymore. Quite expensive. We didn't like the shape of the back end of the wheelhouse, so we went for the more straight look. And after experimenting, we looked at it and we thought, yeah, that looks good. It matches the angles of the windows, and it to some degree makes the wheelhouse look slightly smaller. So I toyed around with the idea of colour schemes on my computer, and I thought, what about red, white and blue? We did end up going red, white and blue, but something slightly lighter. That was the side all in fiberglass. What a horrible job that was. I fitted some new lights on the back end of the wheelhouse, which I purchased from eBay, and these were originally marketed as fog lights for cars, or spotlights, I'm not sure which, but they work quite well as a flood. The back end of the wheelhouse we covered in aluminium, and this was all treated, and it gives it extra support. Someone gave us a helm seat, and I thought, yes, I could use that. All I really need now is a nice soft cushion to go on top. It's quite hard. We made side supports for the back end of the wheelhouse roof from iron. I welded these at home, and then we treated them and finished them off in black hammerite, and they worked quite well. They give the back end of the roof a nice firm support, and also double up as a grab rail. There's my friend Ken. Now he was very useful throughout the whole boat project. Came down, did some carpeting for us and various other ideas he gave us. I've known him for many years, but here is a much more sensible picture of him with his sister Debbie. All of the anodes were rotten. They were all replaced. I purchased a van for the project because the car was being wrecked taking materials down there. Sadly, I've sold it now. And there's Max, enjoying the sunshine. We had the idea of making up some rails on the side rather than one pulpit rail, so this was a mock-up from some very thin metal. Our friend Tony then bent them to shape. Then we welded the ends on, painted them, and took them down to the boat to fit them. And I think they look quite good. We used LED lighting throughout the boat, but we kept the old tubes for extra lighting. The cooker, well, we was going to replace that, but after a good clean up it didn't really need it. We used LED navigation lights, and Duncan made up these tread plates at work to stop wear and tear on the gunnel when you board the boat. And I coated all of the engine hatch cover in fiberglass. Oh, there's just a picture of me one day. There's Jessica helping out. She did very well. We made a plinth for the gas bottle to stand on and encased it in fiberglass. And there's Jessica in the workshop working with fiberglass. That was the side of the boat on the inside, carpeted by Ken. We bought these quite early on from eBay. Very useful. They were quite expensive, but we wouldn't be without them. All in stainless steel, of course. Tony made up the signs for us. It's a rather fiddly job, but as you can see in a moment, he made a very good job of it. Well, it certainly does look different from when we first bought it. Almost ready to go in, the anti-fouling having been done. One of the last jobs was one that we forgot. That was the back of the wheelhouse door. There's Jessica rubbing it down, and she did a good job. And then I came up with the idea of a quick fishing seat, all made from timber found underneath the boat at the yard. It can be removed. This was made for the fuel inlet. We didn't actually have an ignition key. The people had moved back to Australia and the yard didn't have the key either. So I made up a simple switch from an isolator, and it works well. We didn't like where the main battery switch was situated, near the engine outside, so we bought lots of cable and moved it to the inside underneath the cooker where it's nice and dry, and it did show signs of corrosion, which we repaired. There's phone chargers on the boat, a radio, and you can see how much voltage there is. We do have a radar, but it doesn't work, and the wires sadly have all been chopped away. Duncan had the idea of some under-deck lighting, and so he bought some LEDs. I manufactured these brackets at home, assembled them, then took them down and wired them underneath the gunnels of the boat, and they offer lots of lighting. Great for that nighttime fishing. There's a 2.4 amp supply for the tablet, which runs the navionics system for the navigation. We do also have the Garmin. Recently we found some corroded cables near the engine, so I chopped up some terminal strips, used the brass part for the main connector as the wire was too corroded to solder. Then I enclosed it in shrink sleeving. We thought this button was faulty, so we replaced it. But throughout the whole boat we've had good voltage all round. Mostly everything was rewired, and it looks like this now, with all the new switches, clearly labelled, easy to use, with all fuses throughout every circuit. We did a fair bit of work on the engine, reground all the valves, new pistons, new rings, and we ended up with great compression. Made sure everything was clean, tidy and lubricated. And then it was almost ready to put it back into the boat. There's Mark and Denny refitting the engine. We knew it would run as we fired it up in the garden, as you'll see from this video. So this is the outboard. We haven't had it, well, as far as we know, it hasn't run for 6 years. Hold on, just to the radio then. And I've just put some petrol into it and it's fired up. So now what we're going to do, we're going to put this container underneath the leg, prop it up on some bricks or something and put some water in it and see how it goes. So I'll be back in a sec. So that's it. Bucket's filled up. First time in 6 years. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Sounds optimistic. Tick over. Oh dear, might have blocked jet. Well, I put cleaner through it, but I didn't strip the carburettor off, and it's ticking over, but it won't rev very well. Stop there for a sec. Well, we were looking around for a dinghy, couldn't really find one, and then at the club that we belonged to, a friend offered us one for a mere £50. Needed some repair work to be undertaken, but nothing that we couldn't really do. There's Mark chopping off the transom. It's very hot this day. And again, we just looked around the yard, found some unwanted timber, and made a new transom. The paint that we had left over from painting the boat we used on the dinghy, and it is a 2-pack paint, so it's quite hard. Worth a little bit more than £50 now, I suspect. There you go.
Hold it.
You're on video now. Look at
Hold
me.
the line.
Hold the line.
The line.
Look at me now.
There we go.
Say, caught a fish. Little bass.
I want to keep it.
You can't. The man on the bridge over there come over here and arrest us. Yeah, we've got to get the hook out now. You can take the hook out.
Yeah.
Go on then. We'll take the hook out and then we'll put it back in. Right, so, how do you like this trip?
Really
You like
good.
it? You're too close to the camera.
Really good. It was amazing.
Bring that
Good. It's so good.
Little bass.
I want to keep it.